Welcome everyone to the presentation of our paper Information Literacy in Video Games Affinity Spaces, a case study on DOTA 2. My name is Beutelspacher. I am PhD student at Heinrich Heine University, Düsseldorf.
My name is Maria Henkel and I'm working as a researcher and lecturer at the Department of Information Science, also at Heinrich Heine University. Today, we're going to give you some insight into our research project, which focuses on information literacy activities in video games. Studies showed that video games provide opportunities to foster skills which are fundamental to information literacy, like reading, writing, and critical thinking. However, while there are numerous efforts to promote media and information literacy through gaming and the creation of games, there is not much empirical research on how gaming activities improve information literacy. At the same time, there seems to be a clear awareness of the growing importance of games and gaming communities in our daily lives, as well as the need to study their impact. Our goal is to find out more about how gamers participate freely in a modern way of learning in so-called social online spaces or affinity spaces. In this paper, we examine which aspects of information literacy are applied in the use of digital services within the affinity space of the video game DOTA 2.
Before we start to talk about our research, we want to give you a short introduction to DOTA 2, so you can get a rough idea of the game. DOTA 2 is a popular game worldwide. There are over 10 million active users per month and a lively competitive scene. The annual DOTA 2 competition, The International, has a prize pool of over $14 million. DOTA 2 is a multiplayer online battle arena, a so-called MOBA. DOTA 2 is played in matches between two teams of 5 players, with each team occupying and defending their own separate base on the map. Each of the 10 players controls a character, known as a hero. During a match, players collect experience points and items for their heroes to successfully defeat the other team's heroes. A team wins by being the first to destroy the other team's ancient, a large structure located within their base. DOTA 2 is a game with high stakes, engagement and complexity. To master the game and to succeed in the DOTA 2 gaming community, a high level of information and communication is necessary. The range of skills that gamers need in this kind of video game is very complex, and to succeed they often need to consult secondary information sources. This brings us to the topic of affinity spaces. Affinity spaces are defined as informal learning spaces with the possibility to find, create and share knowledge about the specific topic. Gamers enter these affinity spaces through portals. Portals are means of accessing and interacting with content in an affinity space. In a gaming environment, online portals often appear as discussion boards, live streams, video tutorials, social networks and other digital services. DOTA 2's affinity space is also influenced by the esports scene, with professional tournaments being viewed by millions of gamers, as you can see in this short video.
For the better part of a decade, the International has invited the world's finest DOTA teams to wage battle for the Aegis of Champions. Now we assemble once more to celebrate this shared passion. Live at the tournament and in gatherings across the globe. The Aegis awaits in the heart of Seattle, but the international spirit resides in us all. Who will emerge victorious? The battle begins.
We now aim to observe and understand the affinity space surrounding a game to make sense of the information and communication practices of gamers, their different roles, and their activities within these portals. Furthermore, we want to find out which aspects of information literacy gamers apply and possibly improve while in that affinity space. In this research paper, we concentrated on the online affinity space. We now present you our research methods and the most important results. We conducted qualitative interviews with 5 active players from the German DOTA 2 community. The 5 interview partners had all been playing DOTA 2 for several years and regularly engage in its affinity space. 3 participants were also active as streamers, commentators, or content creators for Dota 2. The goal of these interviews was to get a better understanding of the information habits of Dota 2 players and their behavior in the Dota 2 affinity space. The main part of our research, however, was the questionnaire, which we carried out with the help of an online tool and distributed across various online platforms. Overall, 98 participants took part in the survey. The average age of those participants was 29 years, while the youngest was 16 and the oldest 54. 82 participants completed the questionnaire in its entirety. We decided to also evaluate incomplete questionnaires whenever possible and sensible. This figure shows the answers regarding portals in the digital Dota 2 affinity space and illustrates how many participants use these portals at least occasionally. The most used services are video portals like YouTube or Vimeo. They are followed by voice chats like Discord or TeamSpeak, as well as special Dota 2 websites and streaming portals like Twitch or Steam TV. Other portals used are gaming wikis, instant messaging services, social news aggregators, social media networks, forums, podcasts, and special Dota 2 apps.
We asked participants what kind of information they were looking for in these services. The most frequent response was news about the game, with 75 mentions. This includes, for example, information about new features, patches, or updates. As you can see, the portals are not only visited for one specific piece of information, but also serve to satisfy a wide range of information needs. We divided activities in the Dota 2 affinity space into 3 categories depending on the level of involvement: observing, participating, and creating activities. While observing activities summarizes the activities in which the user only consumes content, participating activities show interaction with the content or other users. Creating activities include the creation of articles, posts, videos, or streams.
According to our results, the most common observing activity was watching videos or streams, followed by reading articles and posts. Reading comments and subscribing to channels, streams, or authors were also carried out at least rarely by a large number of participants. Looking at the participatory activities, 22.8% of the participants took part in votes at least rarely. Answering questions, commenting on content, and asking questions are also carried out by a majority of participants. Rating articles, posts or streams, and assigning hashtags or keywords are done less frequently. 72 participants stated that they carried out at least one participating activity. Looking at the creating activities, more participants wrote their own articles or posts, rather than publishing their own streams or videos. 43 participants reported performing at least one creating activity. We asked gamers about these 7 areas of information literacy competence. They are based on the information literacy indicators created by Beutelspacher. The 62 indicators were condensed from contemporary information literacy definitions, models, and standards, and can be divided into 7 areas, which are identifying an information need, searching and finding information, evaluating information, using information, organizing information, communicating and publishing information, and lastly, the responsible handling of information. In the questionnaire, areas 1 to 6 were represented with 1 question each. We split competence area 7 into 2 questions, as it became clear that the aspect of interpersonal communication online and in-game are important issues in the Dota 2 community.
This figure shows which areas of information literacy are particularly important to the participants when dealing with Dota 2. We can see that fair communication with other people on the web was most important to the participants. Finding out how and where to get answers and correct information was also regarded as an important point, followed by finding out the credibility and relevance of information. The least important factor for the participants seems to be the creation of good posts, tags, and other content. This figure represents the participants' perception of the information literacy skills they gained by engaging with Dota 2. The tendencies of the answers are similar to those of the question of importance. Again, the agreement regarding communicating fairly was higher compared to the other statements, while the lowest level of agreement can be seen in the area of content creation. This can be explained due to the fact that most participants did not engage in creating activities very often.
Additionally, we asked the participants whether they thought certain skills improved or deteriorated due to their Dota 2 gaming and Affinity Space activity. This was an open and voluntary question. Among others, the list of skills improved included language and communication skills, analytical skills, critical thinking, emotion and stress management, multitasking, project and time management. On the other side, a few participants also mentioned skills they thought deteriorated due to their gaming activities, such as patience, self-discipline, or tolerance.
Now that we have presented the results, we move on to the discussion. The results from the interviews and survey give us a better understanding of the players' activity in the Dota 2 Affinity Space. The frequent use of Affinity Space portals and the number of different activities outside the game show the importance of additional information and information practices for the players. We are convinced that information literacy is necessary and practiced when engaging in these activities. However, most people did not know the term information literacy or its meaning. Yet we can see, not only through the survey but also by observing the mentioned portals online, how Dota 2 players worldwide apply their information literacy skills and make use of both audiovisual media and textual media to discuss mechanics and gameplay, create guides, or share favorite moments from their last tournament.
Furthermore, static information seems to become less important, while a strong culture of communication, discussion, and participation is gaining in importance. Gamers do not rely on teachers or librarians to provide the correct answer, but on their own information skills and the expert opinion from peers in the gaming community. We observed that searching and finding the necessary information and assessing it in terms of reliability and relevance is particularly important for those gamers. Participants from both the interviews and the online survey also emphasized the importance of communicating and exchanging information with other Dota 2 players. The results of the survey show that participants not only felt information literacy skills being promoted by engaging in the Dota 2 Affinity Space, but also other skills such as language and social skills. Especially the question of fair communication with other people seems to be important. Many participants mentioned the improved communication skills not only regarding effective communication in-game, but also when it comes to discussions with other players or formulating criticism. Since toxic behavior is widely being recognized as a problem in the Dota 2 community, it may be one explanation for the importance attached to this area of information literacy.
We also want to talk about the limitations of this research project. While our results are not representative for all Dota 2 players and not necessarily applicable to other types of games in their entirety, we already found commonalities in how gamers apply different facets of information literacy in other games' affinity spaces. Only 5% of our participants identified as female, but other Dota 2 surveys show a similar distribution between the genders. We are also aware that in our survey we simplified the concept of information literacy by creating the 7 competence categories. This was seen as necessary because most people did not know the term or definition of information literacy. The 7 areas of competence used by us are clearly defined and formulated, therefore easy to communicate to the participants of the survey. Lastly, our questionnaire did not measure the actual information literacy level of its respondents. Yet the subjective assessment of the participants allow us to shed light on gamers' awareness of information literacy and their perception of the educational value of gaming.
Computer games and their roles in our lives are constantly changing and evolving. By taking the opportunity to research gamers' affinity spaces, we can learn from modern information practices and apply them in other areas of education. Our study shows that Dota 2 gamers spend a lot of time outside of the game, and where and why they are searching for information and engaging in other information literacy related activities. While our participants were convinced that they were improving their skills through their activities in the DOTA 2 online affinity space, we have yet to prove that this is actually the case. Future research should focus on this. Furthermore, we are interested to get a deeper insight into gamers' awareness and understanding of information literacy and related competences.
This concludes our presentation. We would like to thank you for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, we are here and eager to discuss them with you.